Well, welcome everybody. We're going to have a quick nose at what Chris has brought with him on this trip. So before we freeze to death, we're going to let Chris get into his tent quite quickly. So let's point this at Chris. Okay, Chris, what did you bring with you on your trip this time to the Cairngorms in the middle of February?
I brought stuff that ought to be ideal for the middle of February, but in fact it has been even milder than forecast, so some of the stuff I've got is overkill. I didn't need it. And also we were hoping to camp above the trees where it might have been fairly windy, but then the forecast was for the wind to get stronger and stronger, and also we couldn't find anywhere that wasn't absolutely sodden because there's been so much rain along with recent snow melt. You know, the ground is saturated in lots of places, so we've ended up retreating into the forest, and the tent, which is a Hilleberg Sulu, is definitely overkill for camping down here
in a forest.
I mean, there's been a wind in the forest, but it hasn't been that strong. Which is, I mean, there's no problem with using it. I mean, it still works, of course. It's just that, you know, I'm carrying more weight than I would need to do for camping here. But again, you know, I'm not expecting temperatures like this in mid-February. I mean, we're in the forest. We are still camped at about 350 metres. And the temperature, the low point last night was 8.3 degrees Celsius, you know, which is very warm for 350 metres in the Cairngorms in the middle of February. I knew from the forecast it probably wasn't going to, you know, drop below freezing, but I still expected it to be colder than that.
Yes.
I mean, you know, I've had colder nights than that in summer. So that meant that the sleeping bag I brought, which is a Patagonia 850, is rated to -7, and it was too hot.
Right,
At
okay.
+8 and above, because that's say +8.3, that was the low point. Most of the night was warmer than that. However, it has got almost full-length zip, so I basically unzipped it and used it as a quilt.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
To make it a little bit cooler.
And
of
you
course,
brought
I didn't close the tent doors at all. I left them open, so, you know, to keep it cooler and for airflow.
And you brought the Thermarest. Is that the new X-Therm?
That's the new X-Therm, the one that isn't noisy.
Right, yes. Yeah. How do you find that? How do you find that? And do you find that you need that in the winter more than the X-Lite, or would you get away with the X-Lite?
Last night I'd have got away with the Uber Lite, never mind the X-Lite. I haven't tested the limits of the X-Lite, but the X-Therm is obviously a thicker, warmer mat. And when it's shorter trips where the weight isn't critical, you know, I'm quite happy to take it. And it's certainly adequate when I have slept on snow and when the temperature has dropped below freezing. It's great. But I say again, for here, it's complete, you know, overkill.
Yeah.
It's nice and comfortable, but you don't need it for the warmth.
And you've brought a different stove with you this time. Is there a reason why you brought that particular setup?
Yeah, there's two reasons. One is when I took the reactor on our last trip, I thought we might be melting snow.
Right, okay.
And the reactor is really good. You know, that's one of the things it's designed for, melting snow. We didn't, in fact, though. You know, we might well have done. We were camped with snow all around us. And it was just that part of the stream was open and we were able to get water.
Yeah.
But for this trip, I wasn't expecting us often need to melt snow, given that, you know, wasn't expecting freezing temperatures.
Yeah.
And there isn't that much snow except very high up. So I thought the reactor, for once I got this right, would be overkill,
Yeah.
so I didn't bring it. But also, which I haven't had to do because we haven't had either the rain or, well, certainly the rain that's been forecast. We've only had a couple of heavy showers during the day today. We haven't had any down here.
Yeah.
And the wind, there's been some gusts of wind down here, but it's not been consistent, which I haven't done at the door. But the one thing with the Sulu is it's got a relatively shallow porch.
Yeah.
It's a long porch because there's a whole side of the tent, but
Yeah.
it's not very deep. Now you can unhook the inner and pull it back to make the porch bigger,
Right.
you know, if you want, which I have done at times. But it's also useful to have a low profile stove.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So that the stove isn't up here, it's down here,
Yeah.
because it's not sitting on top of the canister. And this, which is one I've had for years, this is the Optimus Vega, which
Right.
is probably the lightest of this type of hose connected stove you
Right.
can get.
Okay.
It's very efficient, it's very good. It comes with legs, which you can see there.
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
It's also
Yeah.
designed to have the canister upside down if
Okay.
it's really cold.
Yeah.
And then it's got legs to hold
Mm-hmm.
the canister up, and so you can still get at the control valve.
All right. Okay.
Obviously, I haven't needed that on this
Yeah.
trip.
Yeah. So it hasn't been cold
'Cause it
enough.
hasn't been anything like cold enough. No, the pot, however, this is the Jetboil Stash pot,
Yeah.
which is really excellent because it's got the heat exchanger on. It boils water incredibly fast on lots of different stoves.
Right. Okay.
The Jetboil Stash stove is, if you like, it's a bog standard canister top stove.
Right. Okay.
It's average. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's okay, but there are much better stoves. You know, whereas the pot is excellent.
Right.
For one, because it's very light, and because it's not part of a system where it has to screw into a burner or fit on like a lot of these stoves.
Yeah.
You can use it on, you know, any
And you
stove.
find
use it as a
just
pot.
resting it on something is fine like that. And,
Yeah,
and
that's
just resting
that's all
on.
it does on the Stash
Yes,
stove.
Yes.
That's the thing. The
Right,
Stash
okay.
is just a burner, and
It's
this
just
sits in it.
it's just a burner, is that?
It's just three arms screwing
Ah,
it up,
right,
just like
okay.
any other. There's nothing special
right.
about it at all. It's the pot.
It's the pot that's the.
You know,
is the
but you can't
special
get
bit.
the pot without buying
Right.
the
That's
burner.
that's a bit.
I mean, obviously, if the weather's really nice and it's warm and you've got plenty of gas, the burner is a lot lighter than this. But I've also used this with. Last year I used it with the MSR Pocket Rocket Deluxe
right, remember
stove.
you.
You know, which is a canister top
Yeah.
stove. It works. You get much faster boil times with that than with the Stash stove.
Right.
So I do wish it would be nice if Jetboil would sell this
By itself.
by itself. you know.
Right. Yes. How is the boil time with the Jetboil compared to the was it Optimus? Did you say?
Yeah, the Vega. Oh, it's faster with the Vega.
Oh, it's faster with the
Yeah,
Vega,
'cause
is
it's
it?
a
But
more-
then it's bigger, isn't it?
It's a more powerful burner.
Right.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And you've just brought a small gas canister with you, so you expect
I've-
that to be plenty? Or have you got
Well, I've
another
also
one?
got. I brought two again because weight wasn't critical. Because even if we'd camped higher up, we weren't going that far.
No.
I brought two part-use canisters.
Right. Okay.
you know.
Yeah. Okay. So that and obviously the wind chill. So you've brought with you a bucket and spade. So you brought your spade and your axe. So that axe, it looks quite a dangerous looking axe, doesn't it? Does it have like an interchangeable tip on it or something?
No. All it is the lightest ice axe with a steel pick.
Right. Okay.
Um,
So how would it compare to the one that I've got?
it's a lot lighter.
It's a lot lighter, is it?
Yeah.
So you basically went for the lightest that you could get.
Well, it's the axe I take if I don't think I'm going to need a nice axe, but I better have one just in case.
Right.
Because it's so light. You pick it up, you'll see how light it is.
Yeah. So if you were, oh yeah, there isn't any weight to it, is there?
No.
So if you were taking an axe knowing that you were going to need the axe, would you take a different one?
Depends how much I expected to need it, but yes, if I thought I was going to have the axe in my hand most of the day, or in particular if I thought I might be cutting steps, I'd probably take a slightly heavier axe.
Right.
But that one would probably be fine. I mean, I've used it a fair bit.
Yeah.
The only axe that's even lighter than that, same design, the Camp Corsair, but it's all aluminium.
Ah, right. Okay.
Which blunts, very easily.
Right.
Whereas that has got, say, the steel pick.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you brought a spade with you. So what spade is that one?
Oh, it's a BCA Tour, I think. It's the
Right.
lightest one I've got.
Right. Okay. So is that's the same as the one that you loaned me, wasn't it?
Similar.
Similar,
Yours is a slightly different model.
Right.
But, yeah.
Okay.
Yours has got an extendable handle.
Yes.
That hasn't.
Ah, right. Okay.
So it's lighter weight.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But again, if I'm going out to build an igloo or dig a snow shelter, and so I know I'm going to be using a shovel a lot,
then you would take.
I want a
something-
longer handled one.
Right. Okay. So you
than that.
literally bought that because it's the lightest that you have,
In
and
case.
it's just in case. Yeah. You're
That
not
is one of the
expecting to
things-
use it.
I mean, obviously, again, it's totally unnecessary on this trip.
Yeah.
It's one of the items that, if there's snow on the hills, it goes in the rucksack, whether it's a day walk or an overnight trip.
Right.
It's snow shovels can be very, very useful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay. And what pack did you bring with you? Because that's
Well,
a new pack for you,
this
isn't
is
it?
it's a test one. It's the Osprey. They've made this Atmos back system, sprung back for years,
Right.
and they do a pack which the Atmos Anti-Gravity 65, which is a 65 litre pack. This is the lighter version of it. It's not lightweight, in fact, but the back system is much the same. The adjustability is a bit simpler than on the
Right.
AG 65. They've just reduced some of the features. This doesn't have two compartments. It only has a zip down one side rather than both sides.
Right.
And there's a few other, tweaks they've done.
Right. Okay.
So it's slightly less features, but the same back system.
Yeah.
And it's still, I think it's 1.9 something kilos.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And it's 65 litres. And it, it carries comfortably, this system does.
Right. Okay. Because that's a bit heavier than the Gregory, isn't it? Because the Gregory is about 1.4.
it's quite a complex back. It's quite
Right.
heavy,
Yeah.
And it's got these sprung hip fins, which you put it on and they almost feels like they're hugging your hips before you've done the hip belt up.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So do you like it?
Yeah, for this type of pack.
Yeah.
It works. It's not. If any snow was forecast or anything like this, I would use this type of pack.
Right.
Not,
Okay. Because
nothing
you
wrong with
wouldn't
this
want snow
specific
to
model.
get between you
but
and the back.
This is not good in snow.
Right.
Because you get snow in here,
Yeah.
and also you get the wind whistling through because you've got
Right.
the curved back,
Yeah.
and also the big mesh pockets, front and back, they can fill up with snow. So it's not, it's a general purpose backpacking sack. It's not a winter
Yeah.
mountain sack.
Yeah.
But we weren't expecting any snow. So,
No.
know.
No. So you thought it'd be okay. No. Well, I think it's done you well. I think you've been very comfortable with it.
It's carried the load okay,
Yeah.
but as you know, there are much lighter packs that will carry the load just as comfortably.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
but if you want lots of features, if you want the sprung back to keep your back dry,
Then some
then this has
people-
got
then
has got it.
yeah.